Alyssa Dedham and Malia Martinez here. You ready, Mike?
Yep.
Open up for questions.
So what was your takeaway from the Tempe experience?
My takeaway is that we came out and we definitely got better each game. And I think that coach telling us to be a little bit more aggressive and all gas, no brakes, I think that that really carried on to Sunday. And we plan on carrying that on all season.
And yeah, I think we showed a lot of growth just throughout the weekend. Not to look too far ahead into Sunday, but to focus on like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and to really pay attention to what we're doing and giving our all each time. So I just think like for the first weekend, I thought we did a really good job on improving and learning from our mistakes and then moving that into this next weekend. So.
What's it like this early in the season, having Oklahoma coming up?
Oh, I think it's a great thing. Yeah, we love to keep our schedule really competitive. It helps us a lot, and so I think to face them so soon is going to be really exciting. So,
I think it's going to be a great challenge, but I mean, we just had some really good challenges this past weekend. So I think the main thing is not playing the name game and just going right at them.
Melissa, how would you evaluate your performance? Because you struggled a little bit against Seattle, but then your last two outings you were really dominant.
Yeah, I think that my first one was, nervous, your first one. Obviously, my stuff was not how I wanted it to be, so I made sure that I had a quick turnaround, and I didn't think too much into it, and I just remembered that, one performance doesn't define, like, who I am, and so that was, I think, the main thing was just to flip that next page and keep going.
How did you feel different out there compared to last year? Were you spinning it more? Was your velocity better?
Yeah, I feel like definitely on Sunday that my velocity was pretty high. My spin was really good. So I think that that was a great starting point, but I plan on to build off of that.
Malia, which of the younger players impressed you last weekend?
well, I think they all did a really good job, especially since it was the first weekend, and that's when things are the most overwhelming. So I thought it showed a lot of growth for them just to be able to do that. But I think obviously Bella had an incredible weekend. She did really, really well, not only at the plate, but in the outfield, making some crazy plays and coming up big when we needed her. So I'm excited for all the young players to be able to grow just throughout the season. So
What's it like for them now playing in their first home game?
I'm sure they're going to have a lot of nerves, but that's why we're there to be supportive for them and to calm them down a little bit. But if anything, that's a great thing to have butterflies. So it just shows that they're really competitive and that they really want to be here. So,
Do both of you remember your first time playing in Rita?
yeah.
What was it like?
I was nervous, very nervous. But I get pretty nervous before each game. So, I don't remember who it was against or anything like that, but I'm sure Coach T just had the message of go out and do your thing. So that's what I plan on helping with the younger people is just, hey, go out, do you, and we'll be fine.
And yeah, for me too, like my first game, it was at the old Rita. So even now to have like brand new stadium and bigger crowd, it's just a lot of like great feelings there. And I think the biggest thing that Coach would always tell us is that pressure is a privilege. So to really just embrace the moment and to be there and be excited to be a part of that whole experience. So.
That pressure is a privilege. Do you guys feel any different, like the pressure being off of getting back to the World Series last year, or did you guys go in thinking that now that we've done that, we can do it again, it's no big deal?
Yeah, I don't really feel like we have, I try not to put any extra pressure on myself. There's pressure, but I'm the type of person that I'm pretty relaxed, easygoing, so I make sure not to overwhelm myself because I know that that's when I play a little crazy. So if I stay under control and stay in command of the game, then I'll be good. So I don't really think that there's that much like pressure of like we need to go back. I think that our work and our performance will get us back.
Alyssa, Mariah talked about it all this week facing Oklahoma and how she feels about that.
No, I think that it's just going to be another game, and I think that she's not going to look too much into it. And if she does, then we're there, and if it's uncomfortable or whatever, then that's what our teammates are for.
Were you ever had to do something like that, face your old team? I know last year you came close with UL almost coming here, but have you ever done that before?
No.
Who do you think in that situation would have the advantage? Is it the hitters who have maybe seen you before, or the pitchers knowing the batter's tendencies?
Well, I think that Mariah is going to have the advantage in that situation because I think that she has different stuff this year that they haven't necessarily seen. But I mean, I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Anything else for the student athletes? Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Open up for questions for Coach Candrea.
Offensively, how would you evaluate the Kachikawa Classic?
Well, I think for the first weekend, it was a good performance. You know, I thought we kind of showed a little bit about, I think, our depth. I mean, if you look at the RBIs, they were throughout the lineup, which is a good thing to see. The middle of our lineup, I thought, did a good job, kind of what we expect with the older kids. Yeah, I think for the first weekend, you know, I would not say that we saw tremendously great pitching, but still, I thought for the first weekend we swung the bats fairly well.
And Bella homered, I know she's a really good contact hitter. What do you kind of expect from her this year?
Well, Bella's got some power. I mean, she's, you know, right now needs to slow down a little bit, you know, but when she squares the ball up, she can hit a long ways. So that was nice to see. And I think that's down the road will be really beneficial because, you know, she's a person that can lay a bunt down, can short game it, and then it's got some power. And that's what we wish all of our short gamers had.
Does it seem like you've been playing against G for a long time?
G. Juarez? Yeah, it's been a while. I would say so. Yeah. Good pitcher, and yeah, we look forward to the challenge. You know, she's a tough lefty, and you know, I think one of the good things at this stage of the game is to be able to have a matchup like that where you're facing a quality pitcher and a quality team and kind of see where you're at. And like I always say, you know, every weekend's kind of a test for us, and this test will ramp up a little bit with Oklahoma coming in, and so it'll be good.
With the possibility of Mariah facing her former team, how do you handle a situation like that?
Mariah's a good pitcher, and you know, right now I think she's feeling good about herself and what she brings to the table. And I would imagine that we haven't decided yet who we're going to pitch for that game. But if she's in the circle, then she's going to give us everything she has.
In those situations, do you think the pitcher has the advantage, or the hitters who have seen her and faced her in practice?
Well, I think it depends on the kid. You know, I think Mariah's mature, right? You know, and it's no different than our pitchers having to face our hitters every day in practice. So we try to not make it any more than what it is. You know, it's another game, and we're going to put our best foot forward to see what matchup is going to work best for us.
Should we expect to see the top of the order changing like you did this weekend for a while?
Yeah, I think so. I still believe that we have a couple young kids that could fit that leadoff role, and you know, the first weekend, you know, Janelle was just I thought uncharacteristically swinging at some bad pitches and not being selective, and that just comes from maturity. And so I think part of the process for us is to keep running them in and seeing what we can do, and that's what I felt like would be an advantage for us this year is we have some different options. And I really just kind of felt, you know, against Tennessee, putting Palomino in the top of the order again, a young pitcher in the circle doesn't want to start the game off facing someone like her. And so, you know, we have some good options, and I still believe that we have some kids that can fill that role, but they're going to have to grow into it.
How do you think Ivy played it first?
Thought Ivy did a good job. You know, other than that one little mistake, defensively, I thought she did a really nice job. And, Ivy's a very athletic kid. She's a shortstop really by trade, but I think the more she plays there and the more comfortable she gets, she'll give us a good performance.
Was there anything that came out in the first weekend that maybe was a concern?
No, not really. I thought, one of the biggest things with having young kids on the team is just getting them to understand how every game's so important. And I just thought there were some games early in the tournament where our energy in the dugout wasn't really good. And then I think the biggest thing with this team is going to be their ability to handle being in the lineup maybe one game, not being in the lineup the next game, because we do have that luxury of a lot of kids that can help us. And so, a lot of times with players, some players are more comfortable being in the lineup every day and know they're going to be there, and it's kind of tough when you don't know whether you're going to be in or you're not going to be in. But I really believe that it's going to come down to the offensive production of these players as to who's going to be in our lineup on any given day. And so getting them to kind of understand that and kind of feel good about that, knowing that just because I'm not in the lineup the first game doesn't mean I'm not going to be in the lineup the second game. And it's going to take a little while for them to kind of get used to that. So for me, it's just a matter of continuing to run out different players to get them used to that. And I think the more that we do it, the better they're going to feel about it and understand it, and not take it personal that they're not in the lineup, but to realize that we're blessed with some depth and we're blessed with some good players. And I think at this level, that's what you want. You want every kid in the uniform that can contribute and can help you. And so if they do their body of work and practice throughout the week, it gives me even a stronger feeling to make sure that I get them in a game and give them an opportunity.
Your non-conference schedules have always been loaded. Did it take you a while to see the value of that?
I've always tried to play the best. I think the only way you're going to get better is to play the best and kind of see where you're at. And I've never been one to shy away from opportunities, although I do like when we built Hillenbrand Stadium, obviously we want to play as many home games as we could for our fan base to develop that. But I think in today's world, I think these matchups early in the year are very beneficial because you never know what you're going to see down the road. It gives you a better indication of who you really are and what you need to work on versus playing teams that you really out-athlete. And so we have definitely looked at, even if we have to travel, to make sure that we have a weekend where we're going to Alabama this year or going to Florida last year. The Mary Nutter gives us a great taste of the SEC and the teams in that conference. And so hopefully by the time you start Pac-12, you have a pretty good indication on which kids can handle the big games and how well they react to that.
Were you at all surprised by Alabama losing this weekend, some of those results this weekend?
I'm not a scoreboard watcher, and I can see where that can happen. They got beat by a good team. Florida State's a good team, and that can happen to anyone. And I just think it's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and Alabama will rebound from that. They're a good team and have quality pitching. And it just so happened that they stumbled, and you just kind of hope that you don't have to stumble to learn lessons. But on the other hand, anytime you put on a uniform, you play someone else. In today's world, there's a lot of good teams out there. A lot of good teams, a lot of good pitching. I was impressed with Seattle U. They ran out a couple of really good pitchers in that tournament, and so you never know in today's world. And I think that's kind of the sign of the growth of our sport. There's a lot more parity. We keep saying there's a lot more parity, but there really is. A lot more kids that are playing the game at a high level. Therefore, there's a larger body of opportunities and people to pick from these different schools. And I think just overall in our sport, people are doing a better job of recruiting. schools are putting in more money to allow their staffs to recruit better players and building facilities. And I think softball is just, right now, I think it can really blossom even more than it is right now. And I look back, 20 years ago, it was, the same people all the time, because really the finances were not quite there for a lot of schools to go out and recruit as extensively as they do now. But today, if you go to a tournament in Colorado or you go to a tournament in Southern California, you see about everyone out there. And so I think this is just kind of the result of the growth of the sport, and really the administrations and these different institutions putting more finances into college softball.
What do you think about the Pac-12? It seems like a lot of teams could be a lot better than they were last year, like Oregon and Utah.
Well, I think the Pac-12 has always been good. Everyone has a year or two when they may not have it all there, and a lot of it comes down to the circle and pitching, and this year I think is a prime example of everyone in the Pac-12, I think, getting back to getting healthy. So it's going to be, it'll be a challenge every weekend, in the Pac-12, and that's something that we expect. I think that's one of the great things about our conference over the years, is that when you finish Pac-12 play, you're pretty well ready for postseason. And so I like it when the entire conference is doing well, and I think this year's a good example. I think everyone's improved. Utah went 5-0 this weekend. I didn't see what Oregon State did, but Stanford went 5-1, and those are good things for us.
Any thoughts on the performance by the host school, ASU, and their no-hitter?
I saw a little bit of it at the tail end of it, and anytime you throw a no-hitter, it's a pretty special opportunity, and no matter who it is and no matter which school it is, it's hard to throw a no-hitter. I don't care if you're facing 9 people named Ralph, it's still tough. And so it's kind of a special moment, and ASU's a good team, quality team, and have good athletes, and like I said, it's early right now, and we just have to all continue to improve and get better. And the challenges are down the road when you have to win a certain game, and you know how it is. You win certain games, and it makes a big difference in your entire season. And so, every week is an opportunity for us to prepare ourselves for those big moments.
You've talked about Malia being such a good all-around player and her progress over her whole career here. What for her, what has gone into that, coming into her senior season? Well,
Malia, if we go back to when I recruited her, she was a shortstop, and then I was a little concerned that offensively was whether she was going to produce or not at this level. And Malia is one of those kids that just she's a smart kid, so she understands the game, understands what she needs to do, but she's got a really good work ethic. And I think right now what you're seeing is just the fruitations of all her hard work, and also her opportunities here at Arizona to be able to be in that lineup and be amongst some good players. And she's improved a lot. I mean, she's improved, in the weight room. She's improved with her skill set. She's a great teammate. I can't think of anyone that I'm cheering more for than Malia Martinez to have a great year, because she definitely deserves that. And it's been a big bonus for us. If there's one kid I look at right now in our program that's improved tremendously, I would say Malia Martinez would be the person that I would tell you.
Time for one more.
How does her demeanor help her? She seems very reserved.
Very reserved, she's not a Reina Caranco. I mean, Reina's kind of unique because Reina's got no blood flowing in her body and doesn't get excited about too much, and that's what makes her good. I think Malia might hold her emotions a little differently, but I think she's learned to control those. And to me, I think that's a big part of college softball, and seeing a kid like Malia start having the at-bats in the years that she has is because they kind of find a way to realize where their motor needs to be to play at a high level and not be too excited and not get too nervous and have some confidence. And I think she's kind of done all that, and she knows who she is. She knows what she can do right now, and she's got a lot of confidence. And she's got a very, very, she's got very quick hands offensively, and I think that's the key for her. She can see the ball a little bit deeper. She's learned to hit the ball to all fields, which has helped her. And I think that's just part of the progress of any young kid that comes into the program.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.